Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mary Holzclaw with the Nevada Department of Education in the Office of Teaching and Learning, formerly known as the Office of Standards and Instructional Support. It is my pleasure to bring to you my good friend from Quaver Music, basically, Leslie Dennis. She's going to discuss Quaver Music and the art of actively assessing. And with that being said, I'm going to take a seat in the background and kick it off to Leslie.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Like she said, my name is Leslie Dennis, training specialist with Quaver Ed, and so happy to be here to present to you all the art of actively assessing. If you take a look on my screen at the bottom left, we've got a QR code. That's just our sign-in for today. If you're able to scan that with your cell phone camera, please do that now, just so that we here at Quaver can get a count of who attended this session. If you are not able to scan the QR code, I am going to put the link in the chat, because I know for some people, maybe you're viewing this from your phone or whatever it is. Maybe you don't have a device nearby where you can quickly scan. So I did put the link in the chat for you as well. So we can just quickly get that filled out. There's also an option there at the bottom. Make sure you select or deselect if you would like to get a free 30-day preview. But of course, if you're already a Quaver Music user, you are good to go. So I'll just play a little bit of music, give us some time to get signed in. All righty. Okay, and thank you to those that were able to sign in. Let's go ahead and get started. I do have a digital copy of the handout for this session if you are interested. So it's going to be the same protocol. We can either scan this QR code here on the screen, or I will go ahead and put the link in the chat. So I'm going to click this link if you would like a copy of the handout. Or you can scan the QR code on the screen. Just give it about another 5 seconds to give you all some time to do that. All righty, I see people scanning that QR. The rest of us click that link. All righty, okay, so I figured the best way we should go ahead and get started is with some singing and movement. So we've got this quick vocal and movement warm-up called Hello. Great way to say hello to you all. If you look on the right-hand side, we have 4 options for body percussion. Can somebody unmute, or you can type in the chat, what should I select to fill in these blanks? Do we want to pat, snap, clap, or stomp? Any ideas? I see somebody put snap in the chat, and I'm seeing pat. So for our first line, we will have hello, snap, pat. Any ideas for the second line? What should we do? Somebody said clap. And why don't we, yeah, I agree. Let's just use them all, right? So for our second line, we will have hello, clap, stomp. How are you today? All righty, now over here, we can see the notation quickly just to get an idea of what that's going to sound like. And then this arrow going up is just telling us on every repeat, we're just going up by a half step. I invite you all to stand with me and sing along. Here we go. so much. And if you were standing, go ahead and have a seat. All righty, so I'm just going to click next right here on my presentation. So our focus for our session today, and those that are following along on the handout, you'll see this on there as well. We want to start off with exploring student assessment opportunities beyond our traditional methods. We also want to enhance student understanding of peer assessment. We do want our students to be able to assess each other, but we also want to guide our students in developing rubrics and other tools for self-assessment as well. All righty, so before we get into all of these focuses for our session, focus one, exploring those opportunities for student assessment beyond traditional methods is what we're going to work on first. So let's just go ahead and brainstorm, why should we even be assessing our students? Go ahead and type some answers in the chat for me, and then I'll record them here on the screen using my text tool. So why do we think we should be assessing our students? Or if anybody wants to unmute, you're welcome to do that as well. Why should we be assessing our students? So somebody said, determine what needs to be retaught. Absolutely. We've got, I like that, to gauge understanding and find areas students still need help with. Absolutely. I see check, understanding. Oh, nice. Set up the next steps, right, for your lesson, definitely, so you'll know where to go. See if what they learned was taught. Yes. So to see if they have learned the objectives, maybe. Nice. Okay, so to check student mastery of a specific concept. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, these are great responses. Yes, test if they really learned or just memorized and recited the solving steps. Nice. Has the student reached mastery in a specific concept? Yes. All of the above. So thank you all so much for your responses. And this is something that I would even recommend that you have this conversation with your students too, because sometimes if they're able to really understand why is my music teacher assessing me? Why does she want to get grades, and kind of hearing from them to kind of see where they feel like, what is the importance of assessment? Why do you think me as your teacher, why should I be, assessing you? And so take the time to hear from your students as well. All right, so I'm going to clear this out. So getting into our first activity here, this could be for your primary grade level students. We've got this song called Yes, I Can. And very literally, we're asking students if they can do certain things, whether it's clapping or hopping on one foot or patting your tummy, things like that. But for all of the student responses, they're responding, yes, I can. Yes, I can. So they're singing in so and me, and they're singing yes, I can. You'll see it says times two. So as the teacher, we would demonstrate, can you clap your hands like me? And they would sing and clap the hands and so on. So I invite you all to be the student response for this. So I'll show the move, and then you would respond with the movement, and also singing on so and me. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. All righty, here comes the music.
Can you clap your hands like me? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Can you pat your knees like me? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Can you rub your hands like me? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Can you blink your eyes like me? Yes, I can.
So like I said, with this type of an activity, we're asking if students can do, certain movements and things like that. And then we're having them to show us by doing the movement, but also we're assessing on their ability to maintain the singing on So and Me. Now, once your students are comfortable with this, I would recommend even picking, student volunteers to come to the center and coming up with their own movements, but also challenging them to sing their question in So and Me, So, can you flap your wings like me? Maybe that's a student volunteer. Can you flap your wings like me? And then the class would respond, yes, I can. Yes, I can. So like I said, you're able to assess on their ability to sing So and Me, but also performing those movements. All right, so we'll click next here. So now we can actually take this a step further. We've got some chants that we can engage our students in. And when I click on this arrow, we've got some more things that we can have our students respond to. So right here, and I would decide as the teacher how I want to use my voice, because that's going to determine how students are going to respond. They're going to be echoing me. Now, the thing is, if we're saying as the teacher, can you say ziggy, ziggy, zow, ziggy, ziggy, zow, ziggy, ziggy, zow? When it's time for my students to respond, I would like for them to say, I can say. So utilizing a screen like this, I love a functionality where I can just come in, put in a text box, and then literally type that out for my students. So that way they'll be able to have that there. Maybe I make the size a little bit bigger, And what I could do too is space it out. So maybe put some spaces after the I, so it goes directly under those words that are already there. And then what I can also do is maybe just put it in a different color. That way they know that it's going to be their, moment to respond. So right here, you'll see when it's our students' turn to respond, they would say, I can say ziggy, ziggy, zow, ziggy, ziggy, zow, ziggy, ziggy, zow. And then if I want to mix it up, I might bring back So and Me. I might try So, Me, and La. So for example, can you say ziggy, ziggy, zow, ziggy, ziggy, zow, ziggy, ziggy, zow. And then my students would respond with, I can say ziggy, ziggy, zow. Yeah, or maybe we should say, can you sing, huh? And then down here at the bottom, you'll see it says, now try words like diggy, diggy, dow, or wiggy, wiggy, wow, or figgy, figgy, fow. So there's different ways that we can mix it up. Like I said, you can always add in the solfege, so, mi, la, put in do, whatever it is that you're working on with your students. I would also recommend throwing in some movements. Students, when we say figgy, figgy, fow, what's a movement that we can do to perform that? And then, of course, you're observing their ability to be able to perform those movements and also echo you in whatever manner that you lead in. All right, so we'll click menu and lesson to clear that out and get to the next activity. Oh, this, so fun. 10 rhythms. I've actually done this in a couple of ways. So in here, we've got 10 different rhythm patterns that we are playing for students. After each 4-beat rhythm pattern is played, they have to echo it immediately. What I've done, though, is I passed out baggies with popsicle sticks. And then that way our students are able to use just traditional stick notation to notate the rhythm patterns that are being played. These are going to be combinations of quarter notes, quarter rests, and eighth notes. So we're thinking, third, even fourth graders, maybe even second graders as well. But what I would say is because of the fact that the track is continuous, for each rhythm pattern, to give students more time to actually notate them, I pause in between. So let me show you how I set that up. I play the first rhythm.
Number 1.
All right, and then I pause it there. So you'll see that the rhythm was played. It was 4 quarter notes. We have a chance for students to echo that. So I would definitely make sure that they're able to perform that rhythm. And then I pause the music. I come over to my draw screen and put a blank screen up. That way we have plenty of space to, notate these rhythms. So I'll give my students some time with their popsicle sticks. Maybe they're sitting on the floor. They could even be working in small groups. So with the popsicle sticks, they'll be displaying that 4-beat rhythm pattern. Once my students are ready, I'll use this screen to show the answer. So we had number 1. It was 4 quarter notes. So I would draw just those 4 lines for the stick notation for our quarter notes. Walk around, make sure all my students have that notated with their popsicle sticks, and then move on to number 2. So I'm going to click menu, and then right here where it says lesson brings me back to the song, and you see it's still paused, so I can flip between the screens to do this activity. Here comes number 2, and if you would like to even write these down on a piece of paper to test your knowledge, you can participate as well.
Number 2.
So number 2, yeah, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Yeah, so if you got that answer, I would come over here, go back to my blank screen, put in number 2, and it was a ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. And then continue with number 3. Are you ready? Here it comes.
Number 3.
Number 3. Did you get that rhythm? Let's go ahead and show our answer for number 3. I actually call this one the world's most famous rhythm pattern. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. Oh my goodness, right? So ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. All right, here comes number 4. Get ready to write down your answer. There we go.
Here's number 4. And now,
All righty, number 4. Did you get that rhythm? Let's go ahead and show that answer. We had TT first, then a ta, and then TT, and a ta. All righty, here comes number 5.
now number 5. Number
All right,
6.
let's pause it. Did we get number 5? Number 5. And sometimes even me as the teacher, I'll even clap it or use, non-pitch percussion instrument just to replay it for the students because they do, sometimes need to hear it more than once. So we had ta, rest, ta, ti. Oh my gosh, they ended the pattern with 8 notes. We don't even know how to act when it comes to that, right? All right, let's go to number 6.
6.
All right, that was number 6. So let's go show our answer for number 6. All right, number 6 was T, 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 ta. So we'll draw that. T, 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 ta, with a rest. All right, here comes number 7. Try not to judge my drawings, y'all. All right, number 7.
Number 7.
All right, number 7. So we had T, 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 ta, T, ta. With a little bit of syncopation in there. T, 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 ta, T, ta. Yeah? All right, we'll go to number 8.
Number 8.
All right, number 8, let's show our answer. Number 8, it was T, 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 ta, T, T. Yeah, so you've got T, 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 ta. We ended our pattern with 8 notes again. Oh my goodness. All right, here comes number 9.
Number 9. And
Whoa, I probably should have warned you. There is technically a whole note in this one too. Sorry, I should have included that. So number 9 was a whole note. All right, so we'll get ready for number 10, our last one for 10 rhythms.
last, number 10.
All righty, so number 10, we had ta, rest, TT, and a ta. All righty. Okay, I see somebody in the chat asked about the sign-in. Let me put that in the chat for you there. All right, so there's all 10 of our rhythms notated. You could have even done it to where you allow students to get a turn to come up and, select student volunteers to draw these for you, or however you want to govern that. And then the other way that that I've done this activity with students is done it with chair rhythms. If anybody's ever tried chair rhythms, that's a really fun way to get students to notate rhythm patterns as well. So with our chair rhythms, what I would do is have a set of 4 chairs, because again, these are 4-beat rhythm patterns. So every chair is 1 beat. And I put my students into small groups. After they hear the rhythm pattern, let's say the rhythm pattern is ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. That group would then have, maybe you set a time limit, and they would have to come and sit on those chairs. So one person sitting on 1 chair is going to be your quarter note. Now, to make the 8 notes, that would be 2 people having to share a chair. And then for your rest would be nobody sitting on a chair. So lots of fun with chair rhythms. I definitely recommend that as well. But what a much more fun way to assess our students, right? All right, so let's click next here. So another way that we can explore some different opportunities for assessment beyond our traditional methods here, we can utilize a piece of music, maybe it's something that we're already working on, and allow students to respond to the music, but in a way that they choose. Now, in doing so, students will also then have to defend, their selection. They'll have to present it to the class. Why did they choose the art form, as you see here on the screen? Why did they choose the specific art form that they chose? And how does it relate to the music that is being played? So we are going to go ahead and give you all some time to participate in this activity. So we're going to be listening to the song Symphony No. 1 in E minor. And as we listen, I'm going to put about 5 minutes on the clock for us. As we listen, let me go ahead and give you the QR link to this screen if you would like to look at the different bubbles, the circles here with the art forms. When you click on them, you'll see that they expand into some ways that you can choose to respond. So we're going to get a chance to listen to the music. Maybe you choose visual arts, for example. So as you're listening right now, if you want to grab a piece of paper, if you've got some markers nearby, or if you just want to jot it down on some paper, maybe you want to draw something, based on what it is that you're listening to. Or maybe it's a case where you choose, theater as the art form that you would like to respond to. So maybe it's a case where you write out a line or a scene or a play, sketch a costume or a set design. So in order to access all of these different options, I'm going to go ahead and click menu link. So at this time, if you would go ahead and scan this QR code here, I'm also going to put it in the chat for you. Click this link to access the various art forms to respond to. All righty. And Suzette, I do see your comment in the chat. Is there one for the conference? That I'm not sure about. I'm hoping Mary can chime in and answer that question on if there is a sign-in for the actual conference. I'm not sure about that. All righty. So hoping we had some time to scan this QR code. Once you scan it, it's going to take you to this page right here where it says Analyze. So at the bottom of your screen, you have to click on the blue tab that says Respond. And then you would have to select one of the art forms. You can even do your own art form. When you select one, you'll see there's some options on things that you can do now. We're going to have 5 minutes, and I'm hoping that we can get some of you that will be comfortable with presenting to us. So whether you drew something, you can hold it up in your camera and explain your drawing, or if you wrote out a short poem, you can read the poem to us. But we really would like to get some people that will be willing to present afterwards. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and first of all play the music so we can figure out what are we responding to. So I've got that ready here in another tab. Symphony No. 1 in E minor by Florence Price. All righty. So if you've got something and you're ready to present, just hold here. Let's go ahead and get into our next session objective so we can get into our presentations. All righty. So our next focus for our session, we want to talk about different feedback methods to enhance student understanding of peer assessment. And I figured in order for us to be able to practice utilizing feedback methods, it would be nice for us to actually have some context of things that we can give feedback on. So that's why I had you all participate in the activity where you choose your own art form. And we're hoping that some of you will be able to present so that we can practice these feedback methods. So speaking of feedback, would you believe we have a song all about giving good feedback? So we've got this song called Feedback Sandwich. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
It's the Feedback is like a sandwich song. Come on, people. Feedback is like a sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a filling that's spread, all designed to help us grow. Come on, everyone. Feedback is like a sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a filling that's spread, all designed to help us grow. Take 2 encouraging comments. That's the bread on front and back. 1 thing to improve or work on is the filling that flavors the snack. Oh, feedback is like a sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a filling that's spread, all designed to help us grow. Make your filling wholesome. Suggest constructive things to do. Remember when it's your turn, that feedback will be given to you. Oh, feedback is like a sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a filling that's spread, all designed to help us grow. Fillings are made with phrases. Here's a few to use. Have you tried? Did you think? Maybe you should change. I wonder if it might be best. Did you think of this? Oh, feedback is like a sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a filling that's spread, all designed to help us grow. Feedback is like a sandwich. 2 slices of bread, a filling that's spread, all designed to help us grow, helping us improve the show. Change, it can be good, you know. Constructive comments, here we go. We can help each other grow.
That's right. So I would definitely use that song to prepare my students for giving that good constructive feedback. And then when we click right here where it says example, so let's say our students are presenting on, a certain concept. It could have even been that exact same activity or anything else that you choose for, group projects and presentations, or even individuals as well. And so here's an example. We always start with a positive. So you can say, great job. I like the confidence in your voice. And then the middle side, that's going to be our constructive criticism. So you can say, I think your team's movement could be more coordinated. And then we end with a positive. You communicate very clearly. Great job. And so right here in the middle, evaluation starter, I would leave this screen up and then have a group present or have an individual student present something. And then this would be displayed so students can get ideas on how they want to give their feedback. So you can pick one of the phrases here. I really liked, the way how you performed. The area that I think needs improvement is, more attention to the varying dynamic levels. My favorite part was how you utilized, whatever it is. So you can kind of just pick out, one of these sentences to utilize to give your feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and put myself out there and go first. The song that we just listened to, Symphony Number 1, we had that screen where we got to choose the art form that we want to use to respond. And so the art form that I chose is visual arts. So right here, visual arts. And I drew a picture. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the picture that I drew. And then I'm hoping one or a few of you can even type in the chat your feedback, Or if you want to unmute, you're welcome to do that as well. But let me go ahead and show you what I drew. Oh, wow. Can you all see it? I might have to turn off the blur on my virtual background. I think that's probably part of it. Maybe I should come back. Will it help if I go forward? Let's see. Oh, wow. But essentially, if you can make it out, see, it just depends how I hold it. But essentially what I drew is an ocean. So drawing is definitely not the number one thing that I do best, but I drew an ocean and then I drew a boat. And there is a man that's on the boat. It's just a sailor. And then the dots that are in the sky is supposed to be rain. So when I was listening to the piece, it made me think of the ocean and it made me think of somebody at sea going through a storm. But, you know, there's also parts of the music where it kind of quieted down. The music got a little bit softer. So the storm was getting calm. But then there were times where the music got really loud and things were starting to pick up again, you know, as a storm would do at sea. And so as I was drawing, like, that's literally what I was visualizing, was a sailor at sea. And he's really just trying to make it through the storm. Sometimes it's rough. Sometimes it's easy and, you know, it just picks back up. So it just depends. Alrighty, so I see somebody's already put some feedback in the chat. Thank you so much. We've got, my favorite part is, I can imagine the boat bouncing on the waves. Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Is there anybody else that wanted to give some feedback before we move on to somebody else to present? Okay. Alrighty. So do we have anybody else who is ready to present so we can give you some feedback? So what was the art form that you chose? And then if you're able to show it to us, oh, good, we got some more feedback on my drawing. I really like the story that went along with your picture. Thank you so much. Yes. Oh, okay. So we have somebody who typed in the chat. So they chose to make a descriptive sentence in the literature category. So that's the first one that you see right here in the literature category. Let me go ahead and read the response in the chat to you all. The large rocking boat was swiftly chartering through rough, bumpy, cold water until a large hole began to fill up with murky water and the boat went under the deep blue sea. Wow, snap, snap, snaps for that descriptive sentence. Thank you so much for that. And then do we have somebody that can type in the chat some feedback that we can give? Nice, we're liking the descriptive word choice, the vocabulary. I agree. I really feel like I could imagine what was happening. I got kind of scared when you said the boat was starting to sink. There was a hole. That got scary for me. But yeah, I really do appreciate how you really put that together for us. So that would be an example, like I said, of, you know, allowing your students to give feedback to one another, but in a constructive way. Another way that we could have done the feedback is utilizing hot potato. So, you know, the traditional hot potato game, you pass the potato, when the music stops and the potato lands on you, you have to do something. And so in this case, because of the fact that it is feedback, it kind of takes the pressure off of like, okay, well, who's going to speak next? Hot potato is a way for us to just, you know, vary the students that are getting selected to present. So essentially, I might have my students, whether they're sitting in a circle or just whatever seating arrangement they're in the classroom, and they're passing the potato. And when the music stops, whoever has the potato, I might even still use the sentence stems that we had from our feedback sandwich to give that student an opportunity to give the constructive feedback to their peers. So hot potato is just another fun way to kind of decide, okay, who's going to speak next? Or you could even do the opposite, using hot potato to decide who's going to present next, and so on. All right, so I'll just go ahead and press start so you can see just a little bit of what that looks and sounds like. So they're passing the potato.
Yeah, here we go.
So the music stopped. So whoever is holding the potato at this moment, it would be their time to give that feedback to whoever was presenting. And so, like I said, after that, they would give their feedback. We click OK, and then we continue passing the potato in that manner.
Hot potato, hot potato, hot potato.
All right, so I'll pause it there. Okay. And then I also have right here for you a rubric. So what I've done here in terms of peer assessment, I put my students into the groups based on the categories, of the assessment that we're looking for. So I would have one group called vocal technique, and their job is to, based on whatever was presented, they're going to be judging on the vocal technique. Then we'll have another group. They would be, evaluating on musical accuracy. Another group evaluating on musicianship, and another group evaluating on focus and engagement. And then down here at the bottom, each group also is given a different color. So there's 4 groups, 4 marker colors. So we'll have a group of students, they'll present, whatever it is. And then we would have all of these individual groups choose the rating for that group that presented. So let's say vocal technique, the group that was responsible for evaluating on vocal technique, they would decide, they might come over here, maybe their color is green. So they said, yes, we feel that you had mostly great singing technique. And then the next group, musical accuracy, they would decide, get the highlighter. And then that's how we can give the feedback in that manner that way too. Now, screens like this, I might also put on student devices like some tablets. And so that way, as the groups are discussing and kind of deciding on what their evaluation is going to be for the performers, they can kind of have that right there in their hands to kind of look on in order to be able to give those marks for the rubric. All righty, so let's go ahead and move into our final focus for our session today. We just showed an example of a rubric, but why can't that be something that we can develop with our students? So that way we're really, increasing that level of accountability on our students, and we're utilizing it this time for self-assessment. So in the previous focus, we talked about students, assessing each other, peer assessment, but now we want students to be able to assess themselves too. So one example is to create the rubric with your students. So in here, I just put an example. So I had a category on listening, and then I would have my students, reflect. Would you say that you, listen when the teacher gave directions? Did you need prompts? Things like that. Body control. So I kind of started to create the next criteria. So I might start it like this, but then invite my students to come up with some more ideas. So what I could do is come over here, find my rubric. There it is. How did I do? I can edit it. And so I might even type this out with my students live in, music class and say, hey, okay, what do you think would be a good statement for our 3 points? For body control, I kept my hands and feet to myself, all 4 points. So now let's look at 3 points. What do you think that we should do that would deem it 3 points? Maybe we have a student that says, I kept my hands and feet to myself most of the time. All right, class, how do we feel about that? Yeah, all right, so then I'll come in here and type that in. I kept my hands and feet to myself most of the time. Hit save, and you'll see it displays there. And then I'll continue in the same manner with the 2-point and 1-point category. And then I'll say, okay, students, so now let's talk about, what are some other things that I should be, evaluating you on as your music teacher? Your ability to listen, your body control. Maybe you have a student that says, oh, why don't you, evaluate us on how we perform? So then I'll put in another category here and put performing. And then we can talk about, what exactly do we want to put as our criteria for performing, whether it was, I did my best in my performance, I needed to be redirected during my performance, things like that. And then when I come down here and click save, then it will be saved. And then I can launch it and utilize this rubric for my students to assess how they did on a performance. Think of like maybe even a case where we just did a school-wide performance for a concert. And now I want my students to reflect when they come back to music class about how do we feel like we did in our spring concert, or how do we do on our holiday show, and go through and and assess themselves. All right, so another way that we can have students assess themselves is through the use of our interactive quizzes. So in this case, I created one question, like a sample question for the students, and then I would do the same exact thing that I did with the rubric. So I would come over to the editing portion of my quiz, and then I would talk to students and kind of decide, okay, what is another question, that I can put on our test for self-assessment? So see, the question that I had first is, while working with your group, were you a team player? And so then the students would show, I was a team player all of the time, most of the time, and so on. And so then I would utilize this screen here to create more questions with the students and more answer selections. I find that when I'm getting their input, it really helps with accountability, and it really makes them want to perform even better than they would have, because it's criteria that they had input on. It's not just me deciding on everything for them. So it really helps them to take more ownership of their learning and also how they perform for me in music class. So we love when we're turning over the accountability on our students. All righty. So just to recap in our session today, first, we talked about exploring student assessment opportunities beyond traditional methods. So things like 10 rhythms and dictating rhythms with the sticks, popsicle sticks, or the chair rhythms game, things like that. And then we wanted to enhance student understanding of peer assessment. So we gave you that opportunity to try the feedback sandwich and just kind of see how we assessed each other based on our performance. And then we talked about guiding students in developing rubrics and things that they can utilize for self-assessment. Alrighty, so before we go, we've got this activity here, what we learned today. And in speaking of assessment, this could also be a way that I assess. It could be done in the form of like an exit ticket, for example. Maybe I give each student a sticky note and they have to write down one thing that they learned today in music class before they line up, for example. So we're going to have you all type your responses before we go, same manner. Type your responses in the chat. What is one thing that we learned in this session today? Let me get my text tool here. So go ahead and type in the chat. I don't want my color is red. Let's put on black, make the size a little bit smaller. So we said informal assessment can be quickly done as a whole class activity. Nice. All right, we've got,
Let's talk about what we learned today. We've said all we need to say. Let's talk about what we learned today.
yes. Love these responses. Very engaging. Assessment. Song to provide.
Let's talk about what we learned today. We've said all we need to say.
Yes.
About what we learned today.
Create rubrics with you can increase accountability. Yes. Thank you all so much. We also have different forms of assessment, engaging students through assessing. Peer assessment allows students to help each other grow academically. All of the above. All righty. So thank you all so much for your responses. I really do appreciate that. Let me come over here and clear that out. Before we go, if there's anybody that still did not get a chance to sign in for our training for today, our session, you want to go ahead and scan this QR code, and I'm also going to go ahead and put that link for you all in the chat. So if anybody's unable to scan the QR code, you can click that link. And Mary, I think there was a question about how do they sign in for the actual conference?
Good question. So what I'm gonna do, give me just a second.